All right, welcome everyone to Change Maker TV. Very excited to have Emile here, Emile Steenveld, and yeah, I'm pumped actually to have you here because when we met in October in Bali, in an amazing retreat that we got to spend and share together, it was just, you know, we felt that we knew each other, and I really appreciated and loved your presence and everything that you had to offer, you know, in the opportunities that we had to hear from you. So that's why I really wanted to have you on, and obviously through the experience of learning what you do and what you're about. I know that you're a massive change maker in the area that you work with, business and relationship coaching, and in your own life. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, like I said, leaders recognize leaders, and I did notice you straight away in your presence as well. And like I said, even at the retreat, even though we didn't get to connect on that level, I definitely could see there was this presence about you. And you recognize that when people have this inner element to themselves that they've worked on.
Yeah, totally.
So
thank you. So let me tell you a little bit more about Emile, guys. He's residing in the gorgeous Bali, one of my favorite places in the world, actually. Such a spiritual, beautiful place. So what a great place to be set up. Emile, as I said, he runs, he's a coach in the area of business and relationships. He runs retreats with his gorgeous girlfriend, Coco, and also runs online programs and workshops. And on top of that, he also has a clothing brand called Conscious Tees, and I really love those shirts. I saw some of them in Bali, and Hannah was wearing them. They're really nice, really look like awesome quality, and just some really cool slogans and stuff on there. So definitely get people to go and check those t-shirts out. I don't know what else you do, but I know you've got the t-shirts. Yeah,
we have t-shirts. We have some dresses. We have some shorts coming out soon as well. So.
Good. I've got to get my hands on some of those as well. So this is a little bit of an outline of Emile. Emile, can you tell us a little bit about your story, where you came from, in terms of, you know, the short story of some of the challenges, I guess, that you've been through and how you got to where you are today?
Yep. So basically, I grew up in Australia, Melbourne, Australia. Both of my parents from Cape Town, South Africa. And how I got into personal development was through my mother, basically. She's a psychologist. She's been studying psychology for the past 25, 30 years. Basically my whole life. Like, I'm 34 now, but I remember the whole time I was a kid, she was studying and seeing these books around. And I really remember distinctly picking up a book called Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. Right? And I remember just flicking through it, and there's little paragraphs about don't sweat the small stuff. And those little paragraphs really helped me even through high school. And I used to always be quite a deep thinker, and, you know, very sensitive, but not understand why I was so sensitive to certain things. And my mum used to help me with that and talk to me about, you know, when you're getting teased at school, that it's not you they're teasing, it's because they're upset with themselves. And for me to hear that at the start, I was like, what are you talking about? But what I really get throughout that is that not taking things personally and allowing other people to get you down in that space. So I really learned from an early age about responsibility and blame, and how we are responsible for our feelings and taking those things on. And it was 12 years ago, I actually did a course called Landmark Forum. It was like my first seminar. And I just came back, and I don't know if you know this about me, Judy, but before I was coaching, I was a model for about 12 years around the world. And through the modeling, the reason the modeling was so imperative to me growing and going through my growth is because I was shit scared. I don't know if I said that. I'll have to say that, but
that's okay.
I was so scared about rejection. And what does the universe do? It gives you something to teach you how to deal with rejection. Now, modeling is 90% rejection.
Oh yeah, I guess
I had to learn. Yeah, I had to learn to accept myself way before the client did, because every time you get rejected, you can either take it personally and be like, yeah, and give up, or you can go, yep, what's next? So it really got my skin thick and got me to really accept myself along the way. And understand that I was on a mission. I was going to go to New York and I was going to do this. And I got rejected from so many places to the point where I ended up getting an agency with New York and the biggest agencies in the world. And then after that, I was meant to go to Paris and then getting rejected 10 agencies in one day. And you know how I learned that I dealt with rejection is that day when I got rejected 10 times in a row and I walked away and my self-esteem didn't drop.
Nice.
So throughout the journey of even just doing the modeling, like I was reading and taking these books everywhere, reading, studying. I studied with the ICA, the International Coaching Academy.
Yep.
And I remember going to this course, a Landmark Forum, and looking at this woman on stage and thinking, I could so do that. And it just, the more I got about myself and understood about my own stuff, my own issues, the story that I wasn't good enough, right? That's why I went into modeling, to prove that I was good enough. It's kind of funny. That the more I did that, the more I understood that I am enough. And when I did that course in Landmark Forum, it really showed me what's possible when we can change our mindset and let go of things and understand our patterns and how we get them from our parents and they get them from their parents, etc. And I got pretty much addicted to improvement of self. So
wow, what an apprenticeship you've had.
It has been.
I love it. I love hearing that you've had you know, that kind of upbringing. I think of it just with Brooklyn. I actually kind of say, hey, you know, I wish I had a, you know, parents that are so developed as what Curtis and I are. You know, when I was back then, I didn't have that. But it's really cool to hear that, you know, you've had that. And I think that's massive in terms of the trajectory that's then put you on. Of course, you still had to go through, as you saw, going through and choosing modeling and going into
absolutely
and go through your own personal journey and experiences of learning for yourself and stuff. But
that doesn't, and don't get me, like I had one parent that was super conscious and one parent that was super disconnected, by the way. So at the same time, as much as learning from that, I learned equally as much, if not more, from the other side with my father.
Oh, sure, you would have.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's dive into some of the we spoke a little bit before we recorded this call about mindfulness. So what is mindfulness?
So mindfulness is the ability to observe the thoughts, emotions, and feelings without judging them.
Okay.
It sounds easy.
It does.
But when you have 60,000 thoughts a day, the average human will have 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. How do we stop ourselves from getting caught in the thought?
That's right. It's a big question, isn't it?
Now, I don't know about you, Judy, but I definitely have these weird ass thoughts, and I'm like, why am I thinking that? Like, I'm talking strange thoughts. And if anybody's watching this, you got to be honest with yourself. I'm telling you, you've had similar thoughts that are like freaky, where you're like, why am I even thinking that? And if someone was to watch that, would they be like, wow, that's weird, Emile? That's
like,
weird,
where is that coming from?
And noticing, like, if we were to, you know, one of the myths of mindfulness is, or people think that, you know, if we have negative thoughts and that's a bad thing. And this is what I teach in my programs is, with mindfulness, it allows us to see the thought as it is and then free it, right? And I like to give this example. Picture yourself, you're on a surfboard, you're surfing, and you're looking at the wave, and the wave comes in and the wave goes out, right? Now, no wave is exactly the same, just like the thought. Every thought is different. Now, the great thing about surfing is that when someone sees a wave, they're being present with the wave. This is why a lot of people, surfers, get really caught up in the experience of surfing. So they see the wave and they notice it's, okay, this is the wave I want, and they catch it. Now, in that moment, when they catch that wave, they are fully 100% in flow, in present in that moment on the wave. Now, before the wave ends, the surfer jumps off. And the reason why he jumps off is because he's going to get face planted into the sand or hit the coral, right? So it's the same in mindfulness. What you're doing is you're allowing yourself to experience a thought and then let the thought go. Because when you don't have that, when you don't let go, what happens when you have a disappearing thought? You hold on to the thought, and when you hold on to that thought drags into another thought, and that thought turns into another thought, and all of a sudden you're in so deep into your thoughts that you're experiencing stress, anxiety, fear, and pain.
Mm.
And what
Yeah,
mindfulness,
totally. On the spiral going down.
absolutely. And this
from
is
one
what we
emotion
do.
to another. Yeah.
Yes. And it catches and it gains momentum, because what happens is we want to be right.
Mm-hmm.
From our past stories, from the stories we've had as children. Yes, see, this is why this happens, because I'm no good at this, or I'm not enough. And, you know, and it can be something so simple. Like, we've all had that experience where, you know, your partner calls you and says, you know what, babe, I'm going to be back at 10 o'clock.
Mm.
And then 10 o'clock comes and they're not back. And what does the mind do?
Mm.
Where are they?
Yeah.
What are they doing?
What are they doing? Who are they with?
Who are they with? See, exactly that. Who are they with?
I can't trust them.
How come they haven't called? How come no message? What? I just saw them online. So the mind likes to go into all these things and trying to solve something. This is where the problems start.
Yep.
Is we make an assumption based on our own fears.
Yeah,
now, mindfulness is about not making it wrong or right, and it's just observing it. Now, that's the practice.
Yep. So in terms of being able to get off, right?
Yeah. So how do we get off? So
that's the big question, surely.
Yes, exactly. So I like to use an acronym called FEAR, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the F stands for fusion.
I hope you guys are writing this down. This is good stuff.
Yeah,
okay,
the F stands for fusion. E stands for excessive goals.
Mm-hmm.
A stands for avoidance of discomfort. And R stands for remoteness of values. Now, fusion, what happens when we fuse with something? Now, I want you to look at your hand, and you literally picture your hand, and this is your thought. This is the problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you're experiencing an issue, and this is your thought. What happens is, the moment I experiencing a thought and I fuse with it, it's on my face. How much can I see when I fuse with a thought? I'm in the issue, and when I'm in the issue, I can't make a proper decision, or a decision that's going to benefit me. I'm doing the decision based on my fear, anxiety, my stress levels, and the pain that I'm coming from. So what do? I act irrational.
Yeah.
So what happens when I name? Actually, we're going to go into that after, because that's going to be the next part. But basically, when I separate myself from it, I can just see it for what it is.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. So the fusion is
it's literally gets a hold of you.
And owning that. Yeah. Claiming that, being that, we are that emotion or whatever. Yeah.
So in that moment, a pure example, like I said, the easiest one I like to give for people is that when your girlfriend doesn't call you, or your boyfriend doesn't call you, or your husband doesn't call you at a certain time, and you start going into panic, fear, anxiety, right?
Yeah.
And then the moment they walk in, they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm late. This happened." And then you're like, "Oh." Now, what if you experienced that before that happened? How many times have you been right about something like that happening? Probably 10% out of the 90% that you worry.
Yeah.
Right? So it's useless, because it's just giving me anxious thoughts and giving me anxiety for no reason.
Yeah, totally.
And no one who likes to live like that, honestly. Like, it's not my cup of tea.
Not me.
like
no thanks.
Really, exactly. So the next one is...
Although there are people that do like that, right?
Well, they like the drama of...
They love the drama.
I need to control it. They think they can control it.
Yes,
This is the thing. And the people that think they got control over it have less control.
That's right.
Right? So the second one is excessive goals. That's the E.
Yeah.
So if your goals exceed your resources, you will fail. Think about it. If you want to climb Mount Everest, you will need a massive number of resources. You're going to need lots of time. You're going to need lots of money, excellent physical health, excellent climbing skills, social support. And without these resources, you can forget it. So you want to ask yourself this question: is this goal in some way excessive? Am I trying to do too much too soon?
So would they ask themselves if they had those resources?
Yeah, first. Yeah, that's a great question. You ask yourself, is this goal? And you would ask yourself and be honest with yourself, do I have these resources right now?
Yeah.
Right? The next one is avoidance of discomfort. Nobody likes to be uncomfortable. Who does? right?
No, we like to avoid it, mate.
Yeah, you saw us even in leadership, the leadership course, right?
Yeah.
I was sitting back the first 2 days just watching, like, right?
Working
And
everything out. And, yeah.
exactly, and because this is the thing, right? And Judy, you know this, from the more knowledge you have, the more your ego rises too. So it's the ego becomes even sneakier because it finds sneakier ways to keep you safe.
Oh, yeah, it's really sneaky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is what I've consistently done. Like when I first got in self-development, I thought, yes, sweet, this is going to solve my problems.
Yeah.
Right. This is where I'm going to get into later when we stop trying to avoid it and go towards it. That's transformation.
Yeah.
Stop trying to push away the pain and actually allow it to be with you. Like allow those sores to be nurtured. And when we allow those sores to be nurtured and we accept it for what it is, we then make a new choice instead of trying to avoid it. It's like saying, I've got this massive prickle, I call it, prick on my shoulder. and basically all of a sudden, like anyone that comes too close to that, no one can see it because it's invisible. But if anybody comes too close, I'm like, no, don't come near me. Or I don't want to make eye contact, or I don't want to get too close, or I don't want to open up my heart to you because you could hurt me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
and
totally.
we all have these. We have these invisible sores, so we avoid the discomfort.
Yeah.
And this can be many different forms for anybody, right? My story was that I wasn't good enough, or I wasn't enough, or I had another story that I wasn't smart enough. So anything that was to do with school or anything like that, I would be like, nah, I give up, or I wouldn't try, because if I tried and I failed, that means that I'm a failure.
Yeah.
Right? So when you are coming into that space of like avoiding discomfort, you need to ask yourself this question: what thoughts and feelings am I trying to avoid or get rid of?
Yeah.
Because this is when we really get into problems, when we try to get rid of it. Right? And another question would be, what sort of discomfort am I struggling with? Because this is where we get to be mindful of and noticing the pattern that keeps on coming up every time we go and challenge ourselves to do something new.
Yeah.
Because how you do one thing is how we do most things. So if we can be aware of those thoughts and those patterns, we can notice, that story is coming up. It's trying to keep me safe.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a really good point for those who are watching to take that on, you know, what Emile's saying around this is keeping me safe, and to be able to identify that that's all that it's doing, and that you can from moment to moment have a choice whether you continue to run that pattern or whether you change it, you know.
But every single time you do, you're making a choice.
Yeah, totally.
And this is the thing, not making a choice is also making a choice.
Exactly.
Right? This is what people don't think. They're like, yeah, but I
don't
didn't
have
choose
a choice,
anything.
and I don't have a choice.
Or I didn't make a choice. And I'm just going to see what happens. And then life gives you what it wants. Right?
Yeah.
The fourth one, the R in the fear, is remoteness of values. So why would you bother to step out of your comfort zones and do something that's likely to make you feel uncomfortable when you don't know if it's going to work out? Yeah. Because it's essential part of growth.
Yeah.
We've got to really understand that, like, I'd like to touch on growth mindset versus a fixed mindset.
Yeah.
When I am in growth mindset, I'm welcoming challenges. I'm allowing myself to open up my mindset when I'm getting feedback so I can improve. So every time I work with a client, I ask, how can I support you better? How can I support you to get you to the next level? Is there anything that you need support on in a different way? And I'm asking for feedback, because if I get more feedback, I'm going to grow, versus tell me what I did right, which is the fixed mindset. Someone with a fixed mindset, their mind lights up when they get told what they did well. Right?
Yeah.
They're consistently looking to be fed. So remoteness of values. Now, if you guys haven't clarified your values, it's essential. It's essential. And I'm happy to send you the process I go through with my clients, Judy, that you can give to your people. And what I do is we look at about 300 values and we get them to highlight the values that speak to them in that moment. Not think about them, just what is this? Yes, no, yes, no. It's very quick. And then we highlight we write down the top 24 values, right? From those 300. And from the top 24, we move to the next page and we then put them in categories. For example, like there could be values that are similar. So who knows, happiness and peace. If I'm happy, I'm going to be peaceful. And if I'm peaceful, I'm going to be happy. So I put one of those values that speaks to me more, that I identify with, and you choose the value that you think you need in order to become the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
So for example, my core 6 values right now are simplicity, consistency, integrity, health, courage, and self-knowledge.
Nice.
Right? And what your guys can do is they can choose the top 3 that they're going to really focus on and how they can action those values. So when you embrace those values and you action those on a daily basis, you are in consistency with your gut. You heard that saying, trust your gut. Like you saw the t-shirt I made for Henari, trust your gut.
Yeah.
That t-shirt's all about values. It's about understanding your core.
That's the one I want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
And when you do that in that space, it's like, oh, like a pure example, like I had this niggling feeling like I need to speak to my lawyers today, right?
Yeah.
I had this niggling feeling in my gut and I was like, I need to sort this out today. I was meant to do a podcast and I canceled it. I was like, no, I need to clean up this first, sort this out. That's trusting your gut.
Yeah.
Right? It's when you ignore that, that's when you suffer. Right? You go through this thing where you're like, your mind goes, nah, it'll be all right. I'll just ignore it. I want to do that because the mind wants instant gratification.
Yeah.
So what do? We go, yep, I'll just go and do this.
Yeah.
And then later on, you're like, I shouldn't have done that. I knew I shouldn't have done that. And we've all had those moments. I've had plenty of those moments. I'm like, what am I doing? Right?
Totally.
And you literally go, I seriously beat myself up. And it can be so many different extremes, like from staying in a relationship that you know you definitely should not be in.
Yeah.
And just staying for the sake of it.
So you're staying because it's easy, or staying.
It's easy or it's safe.
Yeah.
And it's all I know, right?
Yeah.
And a pure example is I was in that. I was in a relationship where I was consistently sacrificing my own values, sacrificing my worth, putting in her cup, constantly serving to the point where I was so depleted because I was a people pleaser. And the only way I got out of that is when I understood what my values were.
Yeah.
Because when I figured out what my values were, I started looking at the values that I had and saying, is this in alignment with them?
Yeah.
And then
that's huge. That's a game changer for sure.
It changed my life.
Yeah. And that's that's the thing. If you guys like take anything from this, is what Emile's saying, this changed his life. This changes everyone's life. If you get dialed in to what your true values are, like those are your motivators. If they're not being met, then that leads to dissatisfaction and seriousness and, you know, all the drama and all of that. And it's the same thing that I identify with all of my clients as well. You know, total out of alignment with values. And I like that you have a process that people can kind of go through and do it themselves, which is, you know, great opportunity for people to really get clear on that for themselves.
But yeah, and as you were saying that, you know, the key point is that it's not enough just to know them. The key is how do I, and the great question for you guys to do is how can I action these values?
Yeah, exactly.
Because without action, there's no result. We all know that.
That's right.
Right. So it's like you want to ask yourself on a daily basis, different ways of how can I action this value? What does this value mean first for me? Because they're going to mean different things for everybody, right? Yeah,
totally.
The number one,
yeah, like what love to me and love to you is different
totally
meaning,
different,
right? Yeah.
Right? And that can look totally different, but that's why I ask all my clients first, what does that mean to you?
Yeah.
What does that mean? And how will you action that on a daily basis? And also, guys, when you are actioning your values, you have to make sure you're actioning the value with yourself first.
Yeah,
because
sure.
you have to put in your own cup first before you can do that for anybody else. So if it was love, it would be like, how can I give more love to myself?
Yeah.
How can I express more love to myself? How can I embody more love for myself? Like, and how or what questions are way more powerful than why.
Yes. Yeah. I want to share a little bit, because this is something that since I've been working with Sally Anderson, I mean, we do values in NLP, but I think the work that Sally does is, it's all about living in alignment with values. So my big 4 values is love, passion, freedom, and legacy.
Yeah.
So that's the same thing, like what you're just speaking about. The thing that I hadn't been doing so well is loving myself. So that's self-care and self-love. So last week, put myself in a hotel for a couple of days, you know, massage, facials, just, you know, time out. So, but that's something that I, in the past, found really, really challenging, because I was such a doer and such a, you know, giver, and never made it a priority to do the things for me. So it's a great point to bring out, right? Doing it for yourself is where it's at.
It has to, and it's not selfish. This is the thing. We get caught up, like people, a lot of, especially mothers that I coach, have always consistently been like, yeah, but I've got to do it for the kids. And I was like, and it's the same conversation. It's like, if you really want to do it for the kids, do it for yourself first. Give it to yourself first, and you'll be the best mother, because you'll be happy. Yeah,
that's right. Take care of your own needs, and then you can give so much more.
A classic example I like to use is, you know, when we're on the airplane and the oxygen mask comes down, and, you know, what do they say? They say, before putting any mask on anybody else, on the kids, you put the mask on yourself first. Yeah. Because you're not going to be able to serve anyone without any oxygen.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a great analogy.
And it's such a great way to remember that and go, that's why they have that.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's, can you recap the fear? So did we finish with the remoteness in values, or?
So that remoteness of values is basically when you're not in consistency with your values. So a great question you can ask is, when you're stuck, what values am I forgetting? What values am I neglecting? And what values am I acting inconsistently with? And you'll be able to point it out straight away and go, this is where I'm not on track, or I'm not in flow. And realize that when you're in your flow with your values, that's when you're in flow with life. Things are moving, right? So that's fusion, excessive goals, avoidance of discomfort, and remoteness of values. Now, on the other side of that, how to get unstuck is diffusion. That's what I said, is when you diffuse and you give that thought. Now, I like to give my thought, I call him, he's an arsehole. So I go, that's the name I give him, right?
Lovingly, though, of course, right?
Lovingly. So that thought that is disempowering every time, the one that says I'm not good enough, I go, arsehole's coming. He's trying to ruin my parade. So the moment I give him a thought, I notice him, and instead of me fusing with it, I'm seeing it from a distance, right? The moment I fuse with it, I'm in it. Now, there's going to be plenty of times where you do fuse with it. This is normal, guys. So understand that this is a natural process, and it takes practice. Like, you're developing a muscle, just like you're doing with anything. Like, you go to the gym, you lift a 5 kilo weight, next week you do 7 kilos, next week it's 9 kilos. All of a sudden you're like, you've shifted so much. So we're going to remember to keep acknowledging the small things along the way as well.
Know that it does take time, just like training and conditioning our body to be the shape that we wanted, or to build the strength. It doesn't happen after 1 or 2 times, or a couple of weeks even, you know.
And if anything, it gets worse before it gets better. You have a breakdown before you have a breakthrough. And understanding that that's part of the game. Knowing that your mindset is just like the weather. It's like, it's sunny one day, it's raining, it's cloudy, it's rainbows, it's monsoon, where it is in Bali, it's monsoon.
We're having sun showers here at the moment.
Are you? Yeah. So you never know. Like, it's going to, just understand that it's going to pass. Right? And that's part of your human experience. Happiness is experiencing that all and not trying to deny it.
I wanted to say something, but it's just left me. what it was. Anyway,
It'll come back.
Yeah.
The other one is acceptance of discomfort, understanding that you're going to have to accept and make room for the discomfort.
Yes.
Like you said, like until you start allowing that discomfort in and allowing you to just be with it. And remember, guys, to breathe, because what happens when we get uncomfortable, the breath goes faster. And when that breath goes faster,
stop breathing.
Yeah. And we do that when, like, I don't know if I told you, I used to be a yoga teacher, Jody.
No.
I
you
did
taught yoga
yeah,
as well.
Yeah, I used to be. And it's all about breath. And the whole point of yoga, it means to yoke. It's connect breath with your movement. So when I inhale, I rise up, and when I exhale, I fold forward. It's all in sync. And that's why yoga is so beautiful, because it teaches you lessons just from your breath. Now, your breath is your biggest indicator to tell you what's going on with your body. And when I'm stressed, what does the breath do? Breath fire, short and pace, right?
Yeah.
And what happens when I'm trying to embrace something, like, what happens to that breath? Gets stuck. Now, I don't know about you, but last week I had a knot right in my shoulder.
It happened to me yesterday.
Did it?
I had stuff like happening, and I was like, yeah.
Exactly. That is a clear indication that something is not in alignment right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And in that moment, I noticed, like, my shoulder had a kink and I couldn't turn my neck. And I went exactly the same. So you know it, and everybody experiences it.
Yeah.
But we've got to understand that the body's made up of water. When you let go, you allow flow, right? If we stop holding on to what we think it should be and allow it to be, it will come and flow through us.
Yeah.
We're trying to control it every time. We're trying to push those painful feelings down. What happens? What you resist will persist. It goes bigger. This is why,
and it's coming out in the physical body. But then it's funny because people go, like I did something, or I lifted something, or it's
nothing to do with anything except exactly, except being present. I wasn't being present. When people come to Bali and they have accidents, cool, you weren't being present in that moment.
Yeah.
I wasn't in alignment in that moment. That moment. And so what happened was I had to go to, I have a healer here who does mind, body, organ adjustments. He works on our retreats, and I called him up. I was like, Jim, I need you. And he's like, I'm booked out until Monday. And it was Friday. And I was like, no. So the next person, I call another acupuncturist. They're busy. I'm like, okay. I'm like, it's going to be fine. So I find another acupuncturist, and finally he's open. And I go there, and he puts the needle in, and straight away I feel it moving. Now, the body, we have different energy patterns in the body, and it needs to move. Energy needs to move. It can't stay stagnant. What happens to water when it's stagnant? It starts to smell. Yeah. Right? It needs to flow. This is why we get so attracted to, like, waterfalls when we see running water. Like, people go there. It's just this energy that flows. And a great trick to do, Judy, as well, is actually when you've had a bad day and you've had, like, these anxious thoughts, is to go under the shower and visualize like it's literally washing these things away. It's a nice one. I guarantee after you do that for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and try and do it on, I don't know if hopefully you're in a warm country, but try and do it colder than so much hot. There's something about it that just cleanses the body. Yeah. And you feel refreshed after. So the next thing after acceptance of discomfort was realistic goals. So, if your goals exceeds your resources, then you have two options. One option is to put the goal on hold temporarily and set a new goal and find the necessary resources. The other way is to actually make the goal smaller and break up the massive goal and make it into smaller goals. Right? Because what we do is we get into this thing of like, yes, I'm going to create my vision. And this happens a lot in self-development too, where they come into these workshops and they get super pumped and I'm going to create this, I'm going to change my life and I'm going to do this. And then they set this massive margin. And the reason why I know it so well is because I used to do it. Yeah. Right? And then it gets so big to the point where it's like, this is unrealistic. Yeah. So we break the goals down smaller. Mm-hmm. And when we break the goal down smaller, it's more achievable because I'm just focusing on this part right now. And it's created to my vision. It's right. Yeah. So as I do that, I gain momentum and I gain trust. And when I knock off one goal, I give myself acknowledgement. I say, thank you, well done. And then go to the next part.
Yeah.
And what that does is build that trust and that certainty, because then you're like, okay, cool, I've done all this now. And I look back, I've done all that. Now what can I do?
Yeah. And you're building evidence to show that you're on that path and that you can achieve and you can be successful with making those things happen, which is great. Because we're usually really good at proving, you know, how not good enough we are, or whatever the not enoughness is, right?
Yes.
You know, and see, I failed. See, I can't do that. See, I'm not good enough. Told you so.
Yeah. And that's a great example, Judy, because, you know, I don't know if you read the 5 agreements or the 4 agreements.
Yeah. Don Miguel.
Don Miguel Ruiz speaks about that as when we were children, we were domesticated just like our pets. And, you know, he says in the 4 agreements, he's like, you know, as we were children, we were growing up and our parents were like, what's 5 plus 5? And you said 10. And they're like, here's a treat. And you're like, thank you. And we get used to being right. Because when we're right, we get attention and we get love.
Yeah.
What happens when I'm consistently wanting to be right? Someone else is going to be wrong.
Okay, make others wrong. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So what happens then is when I'm constantly wanting to be right, I'm constantly looking for those stories that I have, even those bad stories, like I'm not good enough or I'm not worthy or I'm not smart enough. And we start looking and paying attention to where we can find it.
Yeah.
And it comes into our relationships. It comes into when we're speaking to people. Yep, see? Like a pure example, my dad grew up in South Africa they called them Cape colored. So he's a mix between the blacks and the whites, right? Same as my mum. And, you know, my parents left during the apartheid because of the way the coloreds and the blacks were getting treated. So he has a story about white South Africans and that they're bad or they're, well, I don't want to say the word, but you know, what they are, you know? So basically, because he's got that story and he's brought that story with, you know, he's got proof that they are all bad and they're wrong and they're mean, right? Yeah. So what does he do? He brings that same story to Australia. It's like generalizing a whole race to say that they're all bad. Yeah. So you see, you will look for places where you were right. Yeah. And I remember asking him as a child, I was like, but what do you mean? He seemed really nice. Yeah. Like I remember meeting a man and my dad was like, yeah, he's just stuck up. And I was like, what? And I didn't understand it. And then I only got it later on to understand that we make predicaments. We want to prove that we are right. Yeah. Because if we are, then we get that feeling of yes. Yeah, feels good. It's a good payoff, right? Yeah. So the last one was embracing values. But
can I just go back to that? I wanted to speak about realistic goals because I like whenever I use that word myself, I always kind of like go, okay, it's kind of like a fine line, isn't it, between realistic and then just
breaking the limits.
Yeah, you know.
I get it. Yeah.
So, but I totally get what you're talking about because I've done the same thing, like set totally unrealistic goals and, you know, there's not been achievable and then I just set myself up to not achieve them. But then within the realistic, then,
setting yourself up to fail because there could be also an underlying belief that I'm not actually going to make this happen. So
for sure. Yeah.
There's another part.
Well, we can sabotage that. We can. Yeah. For sure. Yeah, I've been great at that my whole life in every area. Relationships, business.
I should write a book on that.
Yeah, same. We can write one together. But I think you did mention it, that as long as it's still a bit of a stretch, you know?
The thing is, like I said, there's nothing wrong with having a massive goal. That's not the issue.
No.
It's how can I have a massive goal? Like, for example, we just did a talk in my group. I'm running a group called Master Your Confidence, and we just worked on their 10-year vision. Nice. And when people hear 10-year vision, I was like, that's huge. Yeah. Right? How do you have a 10-year vision? People are like, I don't even know what I'm doing next year. Yeah. Right? But what you've got to understand is that you've got to leave room to adapt your vision. You need to be
totally.
adaptable. You need to let go of what you think it needs to look like
Yeah, for
in
sure.
order to have it, right?
Yeah.
And this is the thing, the illusion of what we think it's going to feel like when we get it. And some of us are disappointed. So understanding that, like, yeah, make massive goals, but sometimes like if you're feeling overwhelmed, okay, how can I break this goal down slightly? Like still have the goal, but just focus on this part.
Yeah, totally. It's great,
Right?
great advice. Yeah.
And then once that part's done, the next part.
Yep.
And you still have the goal, but you're not looking at from the bottom of the hill going, oh my God, this is massive.
Yeah. And maybe just stretch the time out, a little bit for that one. Yeah. I think Tony Robbins says most people think that they can achieve more than what's possible in 1 year and less in 3 years.
Yes. I heard that saying too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting way, but it's, when you get in alignment with your values and then you get clear with your vision and super specific, by the way, guys, like it has to be specific.
Yes.
This is where you start to have
clarity.
results. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, if you are consistent on a daily basis and just day by day, cool, week by week, month by month, and you start moving that, you will soon see the habits you start to create.
Definitely.
And it really is about what habits I create.
Yeah.
Like if the daily habits, what am I doing on a daily basis that is in alignment with my vision and my values?
Definitely.
And is this propelling me forward or is this keeping me around in circles? And understand.
Great question to ask then.
Yeah. And sometimes it will. Sometimes you're going to go, I am going around in circles.
Yeah. Or this is not propelling my game forward.
Yes. And this is where you catch it instead of judging and beating yourself up about it, because you probably want to do that too. This is what I used to do.
Yeah.
As a perfectionist.
Yeah.
Wanting to beat myself up for not doing it and understand that, it's part of the process and enjoy the process too.
And then at some points it may mean making an adjustment, right? Maybe saying no to something or giving something up because it's not in alignment.
Or it's not working or it's not workable.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. That's what I've been doing. Like I've been going like this in my business. It's fun.
Yeah. And that's the thing is that's the fun part of it. Going, oh, this is working. That's not working. What do I like about this? Do I want to experience more of this or do I want to experience more of this?
Yeah.
And, this is the great part of, having your own business in that space, but also making sure you have the discipline to continue doing it even when it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, for sure.
Because there are going to be days when you're going to pull your hair out.
Yeah.
And then there's going to be days where you're like, oh my God, I work with the most amazing clients and we did the most amazing transformation. And then you realize why you're doing it. Yeah.
And I think it's those moments, like when I'm outside my comfort zone, I've taken on the belief that every day I need to feel that. I need to feel discomfort and feel uncomfortable because that's where I'm growing the most. And start to fall in love with that rather than, avoid it and not want it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great way to be. If you can seriously be comfortable being uncomfortable,
powerful, eh?
It's huge. Because you're just like, what next?
Yeah.
Bring it.
Yeah.
Well, how do I want to play with? Who do I want to play with next?
Yeah.
Right? There's
I
was going to say to you, that was the end of that.
That was the end of that. Cool.
Yeah. So the last
stuff.
one, I think it was, what was it? Embracing your values. That was the last one. So make sure you embrace your values.
Okay.
And align yourself with them.
That's right. Embrace it and align. Yeah, that's again, so powerful.
There's an app you guys can give your clients as well, and I give my clients. It's on the phone. It's called One Giant Mind.
Yep.
Let me show you guys. It looks like that. You see that?
Yeah. There we go. Yep.
Yeah.
One Giant Mind. Cool.
Yeah.
And what's that all about?
Well, it's very simple. It's transcendental meditation, but it's exactly the same thing as mindfulness. What it is, the thing is, people have this idea that meditation is that I have to stop my thoughts. And what we really got to get is that the moment you try to stop your thoughts, you have more thoughts. The moment you try to stop and push things down, it comes back louder. You've had those moments where you're trying to go to sleep and you're like, I need to go to sleep. I need to go to sleep. I got to get up at 5. I got to get up at 5. And then you roll and you toss and turn for more and more and more. And then you check the time every hour and you're like,
Yeah. And the more you say, I need to be sleeping,
the more
the more you don't sleep.
Exactly. So it's a great example to show you that it's like, if I let go and I just allow myself to just breathe in for 4 and exhale for 4,
yeah,
I'm going to relax myself. I do this full exercise where I like release each part of my body. It's called Shavasana, right?
mm-hmm.
And with this meditation app, you're going to say a mantra, and a mantra means mind free. A mantra is a vehicle to free the mind.
Yep.
So basically all you're doing is inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose and repeating the mantra. And the mantra they use in this app is called aham, which means I am.
Nice.
It's just a vibration. So every time you're inhaling, exhaling, aham, and then thoughts are going to come, and you allow the thoughts to come.
Yeah.
But you notice them, and then you bring them back to the mantra. Aham. And then your thoughts are going to go that way. Oh, I've got to go pick up the kids tomorrow, and I've got to do this course, and then I've got to go to the gym, and and then you notice, I notice I'm doing that again, and I bring it back to the mantra, and that's it.
Yeah.
Right? The better you become at practicing that and just bringing it back to the present moment, the more you will be in the present moment and be mindful when you're doing this in your waking life.
Yeah.
When your eyes are open, you can practice mindfulness. There's certain exercises you can do. You can notice, like, and I love the exercise I like to do is, like, I get clients to go sit in the park bench and just notice the thoughts that come up about people walking past, and just catching it.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I noticed that, right? And you can do this in a way where you can notice if you're in that space of judgment or if you're in a space of love.
Mm.
Because I noticed there'll be some days where I'm like, I'm being straight up. I'm not an asshole, but I'm being straight up. I'm like, I'm making a judgment about someone, and I'm noticing that I'm doing it, but I'm doing it subconsciously sometimes.
Yeah, same.
So noticing that and going, you know what, when we're in a great mood and we're in a loving mood, you notice when you walk down the street, you're not paying attention to people and their things and what is that. You may be smiling at someone and you're in a great mood. So you're not really doing that. But when you're down in the dumps, or you're not feeling so good with yourself, guess what you do? You pick at people.
Yeah.
Right. And it's subconscious things and patterns we do. Right. So just understanding that, I notice I'm making a judgment about that. And then you let it go.
Brings an awareness to what's going on that perhaps you're not even aware of, right?
Yeah.
Most people are not.
So that One Jump Mind app is a great app, and you guys you start the process. You just plug your headphones in, and it reminds you on a daily basis. And there's videos as well.
It's great, and I love that mantra. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's really good.
So what about books? What are the top books that you kind of your Bible?
One of the books I love is, it's actually in front of me, Untethered Soul.
I haven't read that one.
It's really good.
Okay, cool. I have to write that one down.
And it's funny because, I've just been reading a lot on Paying the Price of Freedom, which is, right?
Yeah.
And he's basically explaining very similar stuff that I'm doing, talking about today, about how we avoid pain and how we build our lives so that we don't experience pain around that. We choose our friends or we feel comfortable. We choose friends that keep us comfortable and don't challenge us.
Yeah.
We choose our friends that are going to just agree with everything we say. Now, I'm very aware of that. Like when I'm telling my friends, I'm like, don't side with me.
Yeah.
I want you to listen to me in that space, but don't agree with me, right? If I'm being an idiot, tell me. So
yeah, it's good.
That's a great book I love. The Fifth Agreement is one of the very first. I've read I reckon the Fifth Agreement maybe 30, 40 times.
Yeah.
Listen to it. Yeah, I've run courses on it. It's just a simple starter for people that have not really, that are just starting to understand how aware they are about it. And the 5 agreements are: 1, be impeccable with your word. Say only what you mean and mean only what you say. Use the word in truth and love.
Nice.
Right? The 2nd agreement is don't take anything personally, because nothing others say or do is a projection of you. It's a projection of their own world.
Exactly, yeah.
The 3rd agreement is don't make assumptions. Have the courage to ask exactly what you want.
Yes.
To avoid misunderstandings and drama.
With
just this agreement alone, you can change your whole world. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, when you make an assumption, and then you take it personally, this is when you're in living hell.
Totally.
Right?
That you're creating yourself.
Yeah, because you make an assumption, and you're like, and then I take it personally, and then like all of a sudden, all this stuff starts happening. You're like,
Drama. Yeah.
The fourth agreement is don't always do your best. Now, there are going to be days where you're not going to do your best. There are going to be days where you're going to fall short. There are going to be days where you feel sick, and you're not going to be as good when you're healthy. But if you do the best on the days that you don't feel as good, then you avoid that self-abuse, right?
Yep.
And that voice in the head that beats you up if you don't do your best, right? You know, there's days where you're like, you know what? I'm only feeling like this today, and I'm just going to do this, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Right? But I know I did my best for that day, for the energy levels that I have.
Yeah.
And the fifth agreement is, which is the newest one, which his son wrote, is be skeptical but learn to listen. And what he means by it, he says, don't believe yourself and don't believe anybody else.
Yeah, that's great advice.
Use the power of doubt to question everything you hear.
Yeah, love that.
Right? And what he means by that is he's saying, don't believe the self. When people are like, what do you mean don't believe myself? Who am I going to listen to then?
Yeah.
Remember at the start of the talk, I said, we have 60,000 thoughts a day.
Yeah.
They're not all going to be your truth.
No, that's right.
So when he says don't believe the self, he says don't believe the self that says I'm not worthy or I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
Question that. Use the doubt to question those thoughts. Question everything. Question what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
Because when you start to do that, you start to ask yourself, does this align with my gut?
Yeah.
And it's okay to say no, it doesn't.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's one of my favorite books. Conscious Business is a great book. I'm looking at it over there.
That's not Gay Hendricks, is it?
No.
So he does conscious living, conscious loving.
No, let me grab it.
No, conscious loving. I wondered if it was,
This Conscious Business is by Fred Kaufman.
Okay.
The Happiness Trap, which I use for acceptance and commitment therapy. Mosquitoes. Daring Greatly, Brené Brown.
Yeah.
She's awesome because she talks about vulnerability and how we need to accept what we're vulnerable about and use that as power.
Yeah. Definitely I love her.
Who else do I have here? There's so many. Start With Your Why by Simon Sinek. And what else is a favorite of mine?
That's a pretty good list anyway.
Yeah, I was going to say
that's a great list.
There's so many. I mean, that's a great start.
There's quite a few on there I haven't read, so I look forward to first getting through the list of books that I haven't finished yet, and then I'll get on to those ones.
Welcome to getting like my audio book collection. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I mean I've got like another one, Eckhart Tolle, A New Earth. I really loved. It really got me present. Like after you listen to that book, I never looked at a flower the same.
Yeah.
It's really interesting because when you break down and you simplify it to that extent, it's like you really stop taking things for granted and you really get present and realize the patterns you go in. I
really like his, it's a quick, easy read, Stillness Speaks. Have you read that
I haven't read that actually, Stillness Speaks.
Yeah, it's just a little quick one with kind of like 7 different sections to it. It's just a small book, but it's a really nice book. It talks about, basically is about awareness and stillness, like what we've been speaking about.
I think we really overrate, and it's funny because I'm really like looking into where I want to take my coaching next, and flow is really interesting to me right now.
Yeah.
Like flow state. How do we get into flow state when you're in that state where you're just not even thinking and you're just in your being?
Yeah.
And I think we really underestimate the power of presence. because it's where we create everything, but we don't really give it attention. We're like, no, I got to do this more. No, I got to do this. We don't want to sit or be still. And what we realize, one of the key benefits of mindfulness is that the more you sit, the clearer your thoughts become and the more clear you become. And the better decisions you make, and you fast track.
Yeah.
It's like saying, I put a whole bunch of mud in this water and I swirl it around, and this is your mind, and it's just murky. The moment we make it still and it stops, we can see right to the bottom.
Yeah, totally. And that's the exact same direction that I'm on with my coaching, with all the work and the development that I'm doing around evolved leadership. It's all about that. That's who you're being. It's about getting into flow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really powerful.
Awesome.
Really exciting.
Awesome.
All right.
This has been fun.
It has been. I think you guys have got some great stuff to take away. Thank you so much, Emile. It's been just been awesome. I've really enjoyed it, and I hope you have too.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. And how can people find you?
Well, at the moment, my webpage is getting sorted out, so they can add me on Facebook at the moment, and my websites are going up soon. Well, it's up, but it's not ready yet. So they can add me on. Just find Emile Steenveld. Yeah,
I'll tag you on the post when we put this on, so they're about it.
And then and they can find I have conscious teas videos that will be coming out very soon as well.
Yes.
I think you saw the one that I did on people pleasers.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so there's another one coming out on relationship goals, and why relationship goals are ruining your relationship, basically.
Yeah.
So we like to tease people into consciousness with conscious teas, right?
Yeah, I love it. And I'm glad that you're getting those out there. It's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, go and check Emile out. Make sure you follow him and reach out. And thanks again. Really appreciate it. And look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Thank you so much, Judy.
My pleasure.